Hey everybody, MichaelBtheGameGenie here, and on today's video we're going to talk about the possibility of Sinden Light Gun Technology coming to the iiRcade, which is a rumor that started recently, possibly by me, possibly by 19K Fox, who knows. But anyways, is this something that's going to happen in the near future, and if so, what could this mean for games that could possibly come to the system? We'll talk more about it right after this. So that's right guys, today we're talking about light guns, specifically Sinden Light Guns coming to the iiRcade. Now why are we talking about this? For anybody that checked out my live stream, Chill and Chat with Michael B on Monday nights, we talked all about light guns and light gun games in the home arcade space. Who does it best and who can do it best in the future. And rumors have been swirling everywhere about possible peripherals and new technology devices coming to iiRcade or iiRcade, whatever you want to call it, with the addition of some kind of new slot, wink wink, in the iiRcade Gold Edition coming up. So there's a possibility we may be able to get peripherals maybe, and one of those peripherals might be Sinden Light Guns. Now why would I say Sinden Light Guns could possibly be coming to the iiRcade Gold? So for those of you who've been following along with the announcements for the iiRcade Gold or iiRcade Gold, it's been kind of hinted at the fact that there would be some changes to the actual hardware inside, the way the chip works, and there may be an inclusion of a port or slot that can be used to play games in a different way. And the concept right now is this is possibly peripherals or attachments to the console so you can play games with, I don't know, a trackball, maybe a spinner, or maybe a light gun. So for those of you not under a rock in the home arcade space, you guys all know about Glen Planamento, Glen's retro show, and also one of the hosts of the popular Retro Buzz podcast show. Well, Glen has been making arcade products for a long time now, some that are absolutely fantastic. I've had the absolute pleasure of being able to test out some of these products myself. I have one of his trackballs inside my Arcade 1-Up Centipede cab, which was just a night and day experience compared to the stock trackball. I've tried his Star Wars yoke that Glen produced himself, which is an amazing product, especially at the price point he's selling it at. And I've checked out his Tron joystick for the At Games Legends Ultimate, and I can say Glen makes amazing products. Well, if you guys don't know this, a while back, iiRcade actually sent Glen one of their cabinets, and the concept was, and one of their original cabinets, and the concept was there any possibility for Glen to get his technology working on the system? Now, for those of you saying this is insider information, I'm going to be honest with you. Glen works with all these companies, At Games, Arcade 1-Up. At one point or another, he's had access to their technology, worked with them, reached out to them, and tried to figure out whether or not he could get his products working with their stuff. So there's no inside information here. It's just what Glen does. Glen does it as a favor to the community and a favor to the companies, because Glen's like the nicest human in the entire world. Anyways, Glen dropped an absolute bombshell the other day, back on April 19th, when he said he wanted to announce the newest GRS partner, Sinden. That's right, Glen's retro show is going to be working with Sinden Light Gun to make sure Sinden Light Gun can be working with your home arcade accessories. Obviously, Glen wouldn't be doing this just for the sake of working with Sinden. I mean, Jesus Christ, Sinden already works with computers, other hardware. So why would Glen want to work with them unless it was to make light guns for home arcade products? And if you think that I'm joshing you a little bit, Glen, in his exact same Facebook group, Glen's Retro Show Game Gurus, also put up a post, why have developers forgotten about light guns? So it seems like light gun fever is more than just hitting us in the home arcade market, but maybe Glen Planamento is feeling the sting as well. So guys, if you also go back to the latest interview with an iiRcade representative, Michael Jerome Svrebeck, or Michael Light as he's known online, Michael from iiRcade, who is single, by the way. If there's any single ladies out there in the home arcade community looking for a partner with some connections, Michael may be your man. Anyways, Michael appeared on Multicade Mondays with my buddy, my partner in crime, P-Dub's Arcade Loft. Now, P-Dub's has a very similar background to me, and we both discuss multicades. However, P-Dub's, I just want to assure you, it's completely complementary to your show. What we're doing is complementary to each other. We're covering the same news, but in our own unique way. Anyways, P-Dubs and Michael had a great conversation, and they went into a little bit of trolling level teasing detail on the possibility that there's some kind of port slot inside the new iiRcade Gold Edition where you can potentially plug something in that will give you a new way to play games and unlock new gaming experiences on the iiRcade. So guys, taking all the pieces of the puzzle, mixing them up, and taking a look at what that looks like, I feel it's pretty safe to say that Glen's Retro Show has secured a partnership with Sinden to make Sinden Light Gun Technology accessible for the home arcade space on devices like the AtGames Legends Ultimate, maybe, but more than likely the company that I think he's working with more closely now, especially since some of his new partners that he brought in also do some work for iiRcade. I think that Glen is possibly working on Sinden for the iiRcade. That means gun games could potentially be coming to the iiRcade. You take all these pieces together, it's certainly leaning that way. Now, Michael and P-Dubs teased a big announcement last week that was canceled. It's going to be brought forward in a future date, maybe this Friday. I don't think that is the announcement of Sinden Light Gun Tech. I don't think we're going to get that now. Maybe just some information about what the port is for. That'll be confirmed. But I do think Sinden Light Gun Tech coming to the iiRcade Gold specifically, in the near future, is coming thanks to Glen's Retro Show. So what does this mean for iiRcade? What can they do now? Now, when I mentioned it on my show, there was some concerns about would the technology work on iiRcade. They talked about the slanted screen and the borders. Would that have any effect? The feedback I got from people much more knowledgeable than me on that episode of Chill and Chat with Michael B all said no, it shouldn't be a problem, should still work. And again, I'm saying that this is just not taking a base Sinden light gun and plugging it into an iiRcade. Obviously, Glen is working with the company and working as an intermediary between iiRcade and Sinden to make sure the technology works on the iiRcade. That's my guess. So for those of you saying it's not going to work, slanted screen, blah, 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 I think Glen is going to get it working. But what does it mean in terms of games? One of the cruxes of Sinden coming to the iiRcade, as opposed to maybe coming to the AtGames Legends Ultimate, is the AtGames Legends Ultimate is kind of an open multicade where you can bring your own games. The iiRcade isn't, so you're left to relying on iiRcade to provide gun games for you to play. So what are the options that are out there? So for those of you wondering the quality of games that could possibly be coming to iiRcade to support the light gun functionality, I advise you to go over and check out the iiRcade Game Store, where you can take a look at the games currently available and assess the quality of those games and the publishers that iiRcade currently work with. Like, there's some great companies like Taito, Arc System Works, who make the Technos Japan games, like Double Dragon, those games. There's some other really cool stuff as well from Bash Gaming, but Bash also have the license to the Strata games. So there's a lot of really cool companies that iiRcade have access to. Data East, Kung Fu Masters, Burger Time's there. So a lot of really cool companies that iiRcade are working with. But one company specifically I asked you guys to take a look at is the fact that iiRcade does in fact have Sega games on the system. And as we know, one of the biggest shooting developers back in the 90s for arcades was in fact Sega. So if Arcade 1-Up can't run some of these Sega games, iiRcade already have partnerships and more powerful hardware. They can absolutely go out and get some of these Sega licenses because of their current relationship and offer them on the iiRcade compatible with the Sinden Light Gun. That makes perfect sense to me. But one of the things that I'm more interested in from the iiRcade and the Sinden Light Gun Technology is one that originally I didn't think I would be super interested in, but the iiRcade has shown the ability to run more modern games like Riptide GP Renegade and Dead Effect 2, which is a first-person shooter. It's also shown the propensity to be able to play games that work as well on the Nintendo Switch and stuff like that. So with that kind of power and uniqueness in the home arcade space, it has the ability to possibly do something very special. Now, what is that very special thing, you may ask? Well, if you saw the thumbnail, you know where I'm going with this. What about if iiRcade can get House of the Dead Remake with Sinden Light Gun Technology running on the iiRcade? That would be a game changer. So guys, some of you may have tuned in a couple of weeks ago when I picked up the new House of the Dead Remake on Nintendo Switch, and I did a live playthrough on my channel for you guys to watch along. You guys know I was super excited about this game, especially with the history, where the original source code for House of the Dead is just disappeared, no longer existent. This was so exciting. We were finally going to get a remake of the original game, and it was going to be playable, and I was so hopeful that somehow the technology with the Joy-Cons would make this game super fun and feel like you were playing with an actual light gun. Unfortunately, for those of you that tuned in, you would know I didn't think the experience was as good as I hoped it would be. That's not saying it's unplayable. People with a lot more patience and skill than me certainly have probably played through it and learned to play with the light guns and the Joy-Con technology better than me. I just found it too hard, too distracting with the fact that you had to constantly calibrate. And I don't mean once or twice, I mean every 15 seconds you were calibrating the experience, and it was just easier to play with the controller. Luckily, we're not limited to the Nintendo Switch version, and Megapixel are actually bringing the House of the Dead remake to other platforms, including Steam, where we're being told the game will have light gun support finally. Now, the game wasn't originally designed to have light gun support, as it was originally designed to be a Switch game, so I'm not sure how exactly it'll work. It'll be interesting, but if it does work really well with light guns, think about the possibility of being able to play House of the Dead Remake on the iiRcade. How cool would that be? It would be one of the first House of the Dead experiences in a very, very long time on a home arcade. So guys, that's my wild iiRcade crazy conspiracy theory for today, taken from my chill and chat there the other night and just bundled up and put very nicely outside of the other stuff for you to take a look at. I really think there is a possibility that iiRcade, especially with GRS, is working on bringing Sinden Light Gun technology to the console where it's going to work extremely well. Plus, with their relationship with Sega, other third-party developers, I think it is possible for them to get some pretty good titles. I don't know about stellar A+ titles. I think some of those might be, a little hard to get. Like, you think about some other great Sega Light Gun games like Alien 3, Jurassic Park. Maybe that is a little bit above the punching class for iiRcade. But doing something like House of the Dead Remake, which is an indie redeveloped Sega game, is certainly in the realm of possibility. And with a smaller studio like Megapixel, they would certainly be very interested in working with iiRcade. And hell, even possibly doing a House of the Dead Remake themed skinned cabinet iiRcade Gold Edition in the near future. How friggin' cool would that be? Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments, what do you think about the possibility of iiRcade working with GRS to bring Sinden Light Gun technology to the cabinet? Is that something you'd be interested in, and would that entice you to either pick up your first iiRcade Gold Edition or to upgrade from the standard to the iiRcade Gold Edition? Also, let me know what you think about the possibility of House of the Dead Remake coming to the iiRcade. Is this a match made in heaven, or am I out of my mind and never going to happen in a million years? Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so very much for watching. This is Michael B. the Game Genie, and I'll talk to you guys next time.